Hi folks. Well, today I thought I'd talk to you about this. There's a beautiful part of Scotland that many tourists and visitors never really visit. So I thought I would explain a little bit about that area today. So this lovely region of course, is called Dumfries and Galloway, and it lies in the southwest part of Scotland, just above England. So just as you come into England, from England into Scotland, basically Dumfries and Galloway is all the way along on the left-hand side. And of course it is the region of Scotland where Sam Heughan was born, and lots of other famous people hail from this part of Scotland. People like Thomas Carlyle, who was a very famous historian, writer, philosopher and mathematician. James Craik, who was the physician general of the United States Army, and George Washington's personal physician and close friend. So he's from this part as well. Also there's a gentleman called Henry Duncan, who had a big impact on all our lives. He founded the world's first commercial savings bank. He was also a minister, a Church of Scotland minister, a geologist, and very much a social reformer. So the very first bank in the world was founded by a gentleman from this part of Scotland. John Paul Jones, who we've talked about before, the father of the US Navy, he was born in Dumfries and Galloway. And of course Jane Duncan, if you may remember, the Duchess of Gordon, who was the subject of a video I did recently. She and her family were also from there. And many of my wife's June's family were originally also from this part of the world, from Dumfries and Galloway. So let's start maybe as usual with just some of the basics. Where is Dumfries and Galloway? So as I said, it lies down in the southwest corner of Scotland. It's bounded by the Scottish borders over to the east, England to the south, and the Irish Sea and Island over to the west. To north of it, really, it goes up to Ayrshire. So it's down in that corner. And Dumfries and Galloway is made up of 3 historic shires. They're called counties really, but they were called shires. Dumfriesshire, Kirkcudbrightshire and Wigtownshire. So these are very ancient shires, and that's what makes up Dumfries and Galloway. Kirkcudbrightshire, which I think actually was called Stewartry of Kirkcudbright. Somebody from down there probably will keep me right, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was actually called, and still called that, I think, Stewartry of Kirkcudbright. Kirkcudbrightshire and Wigtownshire had for many centuries been called Galloway, so hence that's where you get the name Dumfries and Galloway, because it was a combination of Dumfriesshire with the 2 shires that made up this ancient kingdom, I think it was at one time, of Galloway. So this region contains Scotland's most southerly point, which is called the Mull of Galloway, which is right over to the west. And also in the north part of Dumfries and Galloway, it contains Scotland's highest village, which is called Warnlock Head, if you wanted to ever visit that. So that's up in the top. The largest town and the administrative centre for the region is the town of Dumfries. Now this is quite a rural part of Scotland, and it's very strong in farming, also in forestry, fishing, things like that. In terms of its size, it's the 3rd largest region in Scotland, so it's quite big, 3rd largest, but it's fairly low density of population, you might call it, and its total population is only 150,000 people, so that's quite small really as a percentage of Scotland's 5.5 million. Dumfries, the largest town, administrative centre. It has a population of 33,000, I think, 33,000. So again, it's not a huge city by any means. Some of the other well-known towns in the area would be Stranraer, which is right over the west side, so that it's a port. Used to be the main port for ferries and ships coming from Ireland, from Northern Ireland to Scotland. Most people would have come into Stranraer, but they've since built new car ferry airports slightly further up the coast, so I don't think all the ferries go there. But it is still very much a port town, Stranraer. Wigtown, coming further along from the west then, Newton Stewart, Gatehouse of Fleet, the town of Kirkcudbright itself, Castle Douglas, Dalbeattie, Annan, and then right over more towards the east side of the region, Moffat, Lockerbie, the lovely mill town of Langham, and last by no means least, right down on that border with England, Gretna, which of course is where Gretna Green exists, the famous place for young couples would run away to get married in Gretna Green. So these are all quite well-known towns within this region of Dumfries and Galloway. So today I just thought I'd try and give you a bit of a flavour for it. Now Dumfries and Galloway is a great place to visit, I think, because it has so much to see and do. So it has beautiful rolling hills, lovely forests, fantastic beaches, and the coastline. So it has a big coastline with lots of lovely beaches on it. Many gardens, superb gardens. It has 3 nature reserves within it. Has lots of ancient castles and abbeys. Has distilleries. If you're into walking, for instance, there's lots of hill walks. There's also much longer distance walks you could go on. Mountain biking is big for mountain biking if you're into that sort of kind of activity. Fishing, sailing, camping, and lots more. Culture, history, so it has so much. And in fact, I think that's one of the issues for it, is that because there's so much variety of things to see and do, I often think it's difficult for people to, what you might say, categorise Dumfries and Galloway. They don't quite know what slot to put it into in the context, say, of Scottish tourism. So, for instance, like the Highlands, are obviously famed for the scenery. These spectacular mountains and lochs, and many of the islands, for instance, have these stunning white sand beaches and coastlines. So they're quite easy to categorise in that way. But Dumfries and Galloway, I don't think it covers so many of these categories, as it were, and I think that's one of the reasons why so many people don't really know much about it. So in this short video today, I can't cover everything because it has so much to see and do in it, but I've picked out a few things that I thought would maybe give you a flavour of it. And what I'm hoping from this video is it's going to encourage you all when you're next in Scotland, as you will be, to try it out, to maybe think, well, let's go and, Gordon spoke about this place, let's go and have a see it for yourself, because I'm sure you'd love it. So history-wise, most Scots know this region as the land of Robert the Bruce, who was Lord of Annandale, which is part of Dumfries and Galloway. It's located near to Annandale, it's quite near to Moffat and Annan. And Robert Bruce, of course, was the hero of the Battle of Bannockburn and the future King of Scotland. And historically wise, it was in Greyfriars Church in Dumfries that Robert the Bruce murdered his rival to the throne, John Comyn, in 1306. So historically wise, this is a very important region in terms of Scots history. It's also very much part of the history of Robert Burns, our national poet, what's called our national bard, because really this is where Burns came to live after he'd been in Edinburgh. Burns was born in Ayrshire, but he moved to Edinburgh, and then after he'd been in Edinburgh for quite a while, he moved and he came to live in Dumfries, and during his latter years he lived and worked there, worked as a customs agent, and this is where it is in Dumfries where he sadly died at the tragically young age of only 37. So in terms of historically important places, Dumfries and Galloway is right up there, and also something that I think very few Scots people know is that Dumfries and Galloway has a very strong claim to be the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland. Now, this is a title that's normally bestowed on the beautiful island of Iona, which is just off the west coast of Scotland. But in actual fact, the town of Whithorn, which is more towards the west part of Dumfries and Galloway, was the location of the first recorded Christian church in Scotland, which was built by St. Ninian in 397 AD. So again, a very strong historical area that we're talking about. And this is seen also by that there are many castles you can visit all the way along the coast of Dumfries and Galloway. One you should really try and see, if possible, if you're down here, is the Calaverock Castle, which is a mighty triangular shaped castle with a fantastic moat around it. It's quite spectacular to see, actually, and it dates from the 13th century, and it was the stronghold of the Maxwell family, who were a very strong family in that area. If you were in that area, you may also want to visit Drumlanrig Castle, which was used as an Outlander filming location, and it appeared as the Duke of Sandringham's estate in the season 2 episode called Vengeance is Mine. Yep, so you could go there, visit Drumlanrig Castle, and see where they filmed the Outlander episode. There's this delightful village called New Abbey, and again I've been to New Abbey many times, and certainly I think you would love it. It's just a lovely little village. Well, in a couple of reasons for going there, but one is that there is in New Abbey there is this lovely abbey called Sweetheart Abbey, and it was founded in 1275 by Lady Divergilla. And it was in memory of her husband, John de Balliol. And when he had died, Lady Divergilla kept his heart embalmed in an ivory and silver casket with her. For the rest of her life, she kept that beside her, and it was buried beside her when she died. So she. To show her devotion, I think, to her husband after he passed away, she founded this abbey, and she named it Dulce Cor, which is Latin for sweetheart, hence its name. She's also quite famous, Lady Divergilla, because she founded Balliol College in Oxford. It's part of Oxford University, and she founded it. And it is, as far as I'm aware, it is the oldest college. Balliol College at Oxford is the oldest college in the English-speaking world. All done by Lady Divergilla of Galloway. I think her title was Lady Divergilla of Galloway. So she's from this region again. Also in this lovely village of New Abbey is a small place. You can just wander around it. It's beautiful. They have this fantastic corn mill with the working the water wheel, and it's working. And you used to be able to go, I'm pretty sure, obviously not just now, but you used to be able to go and see at certain times they would have the mill working. It was a fantastic experience, and it's dates from the 1700s, the mill, and it's still there, and the streams running past it and everything. It's really wonderful to see. So that's New Abbey. If you were interested in naval matters and history, of course, we talked about this previously. John Paul Jones, the father of the United States Navy, and was born in this region. And you can visit his the house where he was born near a village called Kirkbean. So if you could go there and see where he started his life. And as I said at the start, the most southerly point of Scotland is in this region. So if you wanted to say, I have stood on the most southerly point of Scotland, then you can do it here. And you should head to what's called the Mull of Galloway, right along the west, and there's a peninsula sticks down. And really this is what you could call an unspoiled paradise. Beautiful countryside, miles of sandy beaches, splendid views and walks along the cliffs and everything like that, and you could stand there and look out to the Irish Sea and over to Ireland. So that's the most southerly point in Scotland. You could go from John O'Groats in the north to the Mull of Galloway in the south. Now, an entirely different experience, if you wanted something that was entirely different, you should try the Wigton Book Festival, which is in the town of Wigton. Which part of Wigtonshire? So every year, I think it's towards the end of autumn, end of September-ish, I think, somewhere around about there, this lovely town has this book festival. And this town is known as Scotland's Book Town. And it welcomes book lovers from all around the world come to this little town in Scotland for this festival, and it's spread over 10 days, and they have lots and lots of events, a couple hundred events taking place over these 10 days, which includes readings by quite renowned authors will come and do readings from the books. So it's quite an event if you love books, if you love reading. And the town, this little town, also has, I think, about 20 independent bookshops in it that you can browse around, and I'm sure you would find some wonderfully interesting books. So I did think that was something completely different that perhaps you might not have heard about, the Wigton Book Festival. Something else that would be different, I think, but Dumfries Galloway is renowned for, is that if you would like to see the evening stars as our ancient forebears would have seen them, right? Now, most of us can't see the sky like that now because of what they call light pollution. All the lights, all the street lights, all our house lights, everything. It is very difficult to see the sky as our forebears a couple hundred years or longer ago would have seen it. So if you want to see the sky, and especially say the sky in Scotland, then you'd have to go to Galloway Forest Park, because it has been designated a dark sky place. And that means it's a place that has exceptionally dark night skies, and you're just going to see this fantastic array of stars above you. And it is one of only 4 throughout the world. There's quite a lot of these dark sky places, I think, around the world to allow people to see the sky now like that. But this one, the Galloway Forest Park, it's one of only 4 in the world that's been granted gold tier status, because it has this breathtaking and rare stargazing conditions. So I think that could be quite an experience for you in the heart of the forests in Dumfries Galloway. Now, what else? Right, this one I thought was just unique, and I'm not so sure many Scots people know this, but Do you know that Scotland has a Tibetan monastery? And do you know that it was this monastery was the first Tibetan monastery to be founded in the West? Yep, well we do, and it is in Dumfries and Galloway, and it's in this lovely part right over on the east, so we're back over to the east side now, and near to the Scottish borders, in a lovely part there called Esdalemuir. And there you have the Sam Heughan Monastery, which was founded in 1967, and it's an international centre for Buddhist training, and it's also a centre for the preservation of Tibetan religion and culture and art and design and things like that. And day visitors are very welcome there. So that could be something that's a bit different. I was going to say see a real live Tibetan monastery, but that didn't sound quite right. This is a real Tibetan monastery that has existed now for 60 odd years. Yeah. Now, this is my last one, I've saved to the last, is my most popular place in Dumfries and Galloway, and June and I have been here quite a number of times. And it's this lovely town of Kirkcudbright, which I've talked about in other visits, in other videos. And if you read it, a lot of people call it Kirkcudbright, but it's actually pronounced Kirkcudbright. That softness, Kirkcudbright. So it's a lovely, kind of lively fishing port. It was established in 1455, and it's always had this collection, or generations of artists and creative craftspeople living in it. How that started, I don't really know, but this has gone on a long time. And it's still there now, and because of this, it's often called the artists' town. And you can see this reflected in the many galleries, small galleries that exist in the town. So it has this lovely wee bustling fish harbour, and then behind that is there's a fine square. There's a 16th century castle there, MacLelland's Castle, and there's all these streets, quite wide streets, and they have houses. The houses tend to be painted like pastel colours on them. It's just lovely. It's just an absolutely lovely town to visit, and there's lots and lots of locally run shops and little cafes and pubs to wander around and to enjoy. And I think it's one of those towns, you know, that I would go to, and it would always be a pleasure to visit it. Always. So that's Kirkcudbright. It's right down on the coast, right down on the south of the region, kind of in between east and west, so quite easy to get to. So I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into Dumfries and Galloway, and I personally think it's got so much going for it, and it's certainly one of Scotland's loveliest regions. And I hope maybe this video will have encouraged some of you at least to try and go off the beaten track and have a little tour around this lovely part of Scotland. As ever, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and share it with your friends, please, so we can spread the word about Scotland and all its attributes. I would love that. And until we meet again, as always, I just want to wish you all the very best from Scotland.